Hi, I'm professional sports handicapper Ross Benjamin reporting for the Offshore Gaming Association. That's OSGA.com, your number one source for information on the offshore sportsbook industry. That's OSGA.com. It's Wednesday, September 11th, and I have three free selections in college football for games to be played on Saturday, November 14th. Keep in mind, folks, these games don't go for another 3 days, and these lines are subject to change. Before we get to the video, our 2019 college football free picks, despite going 1-2 a week ago, are 7-3 on the season, and over our last 28 videos, I've gone 45-31 with my free picks. That's 59%. Folks, it's absolutely free to subscribe. You'll be notified right away whenever I publish a video. All you need to do is subscribe below. It goes a long way in supporting these videos and keeps them going, and there's no ulterior motive. There's no secondary means for me asking you to subscribe other than the fact that it just keeps these videos alive. So let's get right. And those of you who have subscribed, by the way, thank you, folks. We're over 2,200 subscribers. We've had over 500 new subscribers over the last week, and your continued support is especially gratifying, and certainly I'm appreciative of such. So let's get right to the three games, starting with the game between Buffalo at Liberty, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. The Buffalo Bulls, are currently a 5.5-point road favorite in this contest, and that's pretty constant right across the offshore sportsbook landscape. Buffalo is a program that's been on the rise under current head coach Lance Leopold. As a matter of fact, despite last week's loss at Penn State, the Bulls are 15-5 over their last 20 games. And speaking of that game against nationally ranked Penn State, as a 30.5-point underdog, Buffalo gave Penn State all they can handle for a half. As a matter of fact, the Bulls walked off at the intermission with a 10-7 halftime lead before wearing down and losing that game 45-32. In spite of that, they did run the ball for 158 yards against a stingy Penn State defense, and the Bulls now have run for 439 yards in their first two games, and that speaks to the experience of a very good offensive line. Deep stable of running backs. There's no frills with the running game. Buffalo lines up and runs it right at you. Smash mouth football, and they do it very, very well. Liberty, on the other hand, has started the season 0-2, and they've been outscored in those two games by Louisiana Lafayette and Syracuse by a combined 59-14. And what's very alarming as it applies to this matchup is Liberty has allowed Louisiana Lafayette and Syracuse to rush for a total of 599 yards and 6.7 yards per rush. And that's very concerning, again, especially when in light of what I just mentioned about Buffalo's potent running game. Very good college football betting angle that tells me any college football road favorite coming off a road loss by 21 points or more, like the Bulls are, those road favorites have gone 32-7 against the spread since 2015. That's an 82.1% win percentage, and that gets me over the top in this one, as I'm going to take the Buffalo Bulls. I keep wanting to say Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bulls minus 5.5 at Liberty. Next game we're going to look at is the Southern Miss Eagles travel to Troy, Alabama to take on the Troy Trojans. 6 p.m. Eastern Time start. Troy is currently a 2.5-point home favorite at Heritage. Since last year, Southern Miss has gone 1-5 straight up on the road, and their only win in that sequence came at UTEP, and that's a UTEP program, folks, that's gone an abysmal 1-24 straight up since 2016 when facing FBS opponents. So a reason why I mentioned the straight up number, quite simply, Troy is only laying 2.5 points, and with Southern Miss's not so good road record of late, that comes into play when handicapping this contest. Now, on the other hand, Troy has gone 16-3 at home since the start of the 2016 season, and that includes 6-1 against non-conference opponents. Their only loss against a non-conference opponent during that course of time came last season against a 10-win Boise State program. Now, here's another very good college football betting angle, and it qualifies for this particular matchup. Anytime you have a home team that's playing in their second game of the season, and they're coming off a home win in their season opener, like Troy is, and they're facing an opponent in Southern Miss that's coming off an away underdog loss, like the Eagles are, and they failed to cover that away underdog loss by 2.5 points or more, which the Eagles have as well. Those home teams have gone an astronomical 41-3 straight up since 1980. That's a 93.2% win percentage. Again, folks, the straight up angle comes into play when you consider the fact that Troy is only laying 2.5 points as the home team here. And yes, is it possible that Troy could win the game by 1 or 2 and not cover? Certainly it's possible. Is it highly probable? Pretty much not so much. So we're going to go with Troy here, -2.5 versus Southern Miss. The last game, Air Force at Colorado, at Boulder, Colorado. Air Force coming off a week of rest, and they're a 5-point underdog in this matchup. And Colorado's coming off 2 emotional non-conference wins in their first 2 games of the season. They opened the year at Mile High Stadium in Denver at a neutral site by knocking off in-state rival Colorado State 52-31. And then last week at home against Nebraska, who used to be their big rival in the Big 8 and the Big 12 before they moved to the Pac-12, in front of a crowd in Boulder, Colorado that was mostly clad in red supporting Nebraska. The Buffaloes were able to overcome a 17-0 halftime deficit to come back and win 34-31 in overtime while covering as a 4-point home dog. And their next game is after Air Force will be their Pac-12 opener at Arizona State. Having said all that, this looks like a prime spot for a flat spot for the Colorado Buffaloes. 2 emotional wins to start the year. Their Pac-12 opener up next, and they're facing an Air Force team that the experts are predicting the win. And this is an Air Force team that's experienced number one, 15 starters returned from last year and coming off a week of rest. That's a big danger spot for me when I'm looking at the Colorado Buffaloes. I like Air Force here, plus the 5 at Colorado. Repeating again, Buffalo Bulls -5.5 at Liberty. The Troy Trojans -2.5 over the Southern Miss Eagles. And the Air Force Falcons +5 on the road against the Colorado Buffaloes. Be sure to visit my website. That's rbwins.com. Folks, coming off a terrific 2 weeks with my football selections. My college football and NFL paid selections are off to a 12-5 start. Last week in the NFL, I lost on Thursday night with the Chicago Bears, -3, but I rebounded with 5 straight winners between Sunday and Monday to begin the NFL season with a 5-1 record. And I'm also coming off a very good college football week 2 that saw me go 4-1. That's rbwins.com, where you pay a little to make a lot. Until the next time, good luck with all your picks.